Welcome to Pet Sitter Confessional, an open and honest discussion about life as a pet sitter. Today, we're brought to you by our friends at Time to Pet and Pet Perennials. How do you rebuild a pet care business from scratch and create something stronger than ever? In today's episode, Jessica from Annie's Wolf Pack shares how she went from navigating personal upheaval and COVID losses to building a thriving, community-based dog walking company. Her story is a reminder that confidence, connection, and courage can transform your business no matter what. Let's get started.
Hi, Colin. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. My name is Jessica Sarcia. I'm the owner of Annie's Wolf Pack Dog Walking and Pet Sitting based out of West Bridgewater. We offer dog walking, pet sitting, and transportation. And we offer some other things like nail trims, bathing, and Saturday group hike walks, and day hangs.
Now, that's a lot of different services. Now, when did you get started with this?
So this is actually my second dog walking company. I started walking dogs professionally full time in November of 2013 with my ex-husband. We started our own company called Tough Paws Dog Walking. Back then, it was more solo walks. We didn't do many group walks unless it was all dogs that lived within the same household. But we did that for about 6 years. And then once him and I separated, we still worked on the company together. And then COVID hit and ended up being a little bit of a conflict of interest because dog walkers at the time were deemed essential, but our clients weren't. So our client base dropped like 80% and we had hardly any dog walks left. So my ex-husband and I had a son together who was 2 at the time, and he ended up taking over all of the walks. So I was home with our son because the daycares were closed and there was still 2 more weeks, flatten the curve, 2 more weeks. And it just, that 2 weeks didn't come. So during that time, I was left home a lot. So I was going over the admin stuff, the admin side of Tough Paws. And I just kind of realized like I didn't know if I wanted to continue with that. And I kind of wanted to branch out on my own. With Tough Paws, there was a lot of things I wanted out of the business that he didn't want to do. I wanted to do software. I wanted work cars. I didn't want to use our personal vehicles anymore. I wanted to grow. And he kind of wanted to just have fun with it. He didn't really want to grow as much as he didn't want to make it a big thing. He just wanted to walk dogs, go home and call it a day. So with that first stimulus check, I ended up taking the plunge and I bought an LLC with it. And here we are 5 years later, and that LLC still feeds my son and keeps my lights on.
Wow.
And I'm doing everything I wanted to do. It was absolutely terrifying at the time because I didn't know if we were going to go back to work anytime soon, which I didn't. It took about 6 months for Annie's Wolf Pack to really take off. And that was really difficult to navigate at the time because everybody was so unsure as to what the pandemic even was, let alone when we were all going to be able to go back to the office, go back to work. So especially being a dog walker going to multiple houses, a lot of clients were home, but they didn't want people that weren't family members in their homes due to the sickness, So it was tough. But once October 2020 hit, it really filled up and I've been nonstop since then.
Now, what I mean, you talk about that vision that you had for Tough Paws that now you're living out with Annie's Wolf Pack. Where did that vision come from? I mean, did you just know that you could do more, or you wanted to try something? Like, where did that come from?
I wanted to try something because I mean, back then there weren't a lot of dog walkers in my area. We were very few and far between. And even in 2013, when we first started Tough Paws, it took a long time to get clients. I was flyering vet offices, grocery stores. Like Facebook was still relatively new to the public, and a lot of people weren't on like town groups or the marketing on Facebook was nowhere near what it is today. So back then it took a long time, like I said, to get started. So there was a lot of trial and error. There wasn't a lot in my area to kind of bounce off of. I didn't really know at the time essentially what we were doing. We were just kind of like, let's do time slots. Let's do this. Let's do that. And then it it really it really took off. So then once we started to grow, we were still operating off of pen and paper scheduling. Like he had his schedule book, I had my schedule book. I had no idea where he was. He had no idea where I was. And if neither one of us were answering our phones, we'd take a guesstimate. We'd be like, "Oh, it's around 11:30. She should be at Walker's house or just finishing that up." But it was tough, and I wanted to grow. I wanted to do more for the business, the clients, our community, and ourselves. I really, really loved walking dogs at the time, and I still do, obviously. But it was at the time, it was kind of like a hobby, a little dogs during the day, and I wasn't quite full-time walking dogs. I was only doing about like 3 or 4 walks per day, and then going home by 2, getting ready to go work at the bar at 5, and then be working until 2 in the morning. So over time I loved I loved my day job. I was like, I'm into this, and I think I want to start pushing for this a little bit more so I can quit my night job. And I did. Just 2 years later, I ended up quitting bartending, walking dogs full time, and I loved it. But I was noticing that it is a lot of wear and tear. It's a lot of wear and tear in your vehicles, a lot of wear and tear on my equipment, my leashes, all kinds of things like that. And I wanted to invest into the company, and unfortunately, he didn't. I guess he was cool with using our personal vehicles and things like that. So it really changed for me once our son was born. I was like, it's not just us anymore. It's him. And we've been doing this for a while now. It's definitely successful. Let's put all of our stock into it and make something out of this. And so then just a few short months later, COVID hit, and that's what I was like, you know what? I think I can grow more if I'm in this alone. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, having to branch out and do it on my own, because this industry, it's extremely lonely, and I just lost the other person. You know what I mean? So now I'm navigating this new business by myself. It's wonderful to be able to make all the decisions, to choose when to work, choose what kind of softwares to use, get a van, get work vehicles. It is nice, but it is lonely. I mean, just the job itself it's a lonely job.
Yeah. Yeah, you have those moments where you're like, man, I feel really, like you said, like I'm really glad that I can I'm empowered to make this decision for myself. But man, there's that other side where you're like, where do I go? Like, I want to talk to somebody about this. Like, I want to have some feedback on this. I want to know, like, what's this? So, I mean, how do you navigate that with that need to maybe have input or extra insight into your own business now?
Um, Networking. Honestly, it's and you guys, to be honest, like the podcast has been so wonderful to me. I've learned so much from so many of the like guests that you bring on. I use Tiny Horse now because of you guys. And like networking, like I said, this now in 2025, there are so many dog walkers in my area as opposed to when I started when there was just two.
Yeah.
So now we're all buddies, we're all friends. We don't see each other as competition because I can't walk all of the dogs in my area. I'm only one person. I only have two hands, and I only purchased so many leashes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is the community that is built around the pet care industry now is absolutely amazing. And I I feel less lonely now that I've reached out to these people, because that was part of Tough Pause too. I wanted to go to events and different networking groups and stuff like that. I was just kind of nervous to do it, but now that I'm alone, I'm like, I'm alone. I have to do it. I have to get myself out there. I have to face that fear and just introduce myself to people, because I'm not going to go anywhere if I just sit here.
Mm. I'm not going to go anywhere if I just sit here. I mean, that's definitely a mindset. Like, that really is a mindset that as a business owner, like you've got to get in that mindset at times and just go like you can either stay where you are and operate as you've always operated, or you can try something different and actually get momentum and move forward in your business. And that transition, like, you have to find that thing that motivates you for, like, why do I need to keep moving forward? And I know for us, I know it sounds like for you too, like for us, it's our kids. Like, it's like, if my business stagnates, like,
Exactly.
I'm not providing for them. I literally won't have food on my table or their table. And all of a sudden now I really go, well, I don't want to go put out flyers today. I don't want to go do phone calls. I don't want to go do another training. I don't want to go do all this, but I need to keep moving forward so that I can provide and I can do this. And that you find that motivation to really never stop. And I know sometimes for us, it feels exhausting, right? It never ends. But I've also had to flip that to also think of, like, it also energizes me. And I find purpose and meaning in that work.
Energizes them too. I mean, my son absolutely loves what I do. I have two dogs at home. He's constantly trying to do little tricks with them, teach them touch, teach sit, stays, all kinds of stuff. And 2 years ago, he had a career day at school and he chose dog walker. And I thought that was so cool. So I made him a work shirt. He wore my leashes. He put on some sweatpants and some boots and had a little stuffy attached to the leashes. And I thought it was so cool because I, it's showing him that you can literally be anything you want to be. Well, you can figure it out. If you have enough passion towards something, you can do that for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And I know one of those big steps that you took, and you mentioned it a couple times, was actually you wanted to make sure that you had work vehicles. And that sounds like that was something that was really important to you in this transition. Talk to me about, like, because that's not common. Like, that's not very common that we see in a lot of people. Like, why was that important to you? And what was that process like, actually getting a vehicle for the business?
Especially now since I'm solo. Before, if my ex-husband and I had any sort of vehicle issues, he could come pick me up. We could switch cars. We could just drive me to the mechanic to go pick up my car. But now that I have a work van and I have my personal vehicle, if one car is in the shop, I can still get the job done. I don't have to call out. I don't have to move anything around. I can still just take my personal car to the dog walks. I also own an SUV that's equipped to be able to handle at least 3 dogs safely. So it's a little bit of a movement around and schedule, but it's I can make it work and it's awesome and it's actually helped a lot too. I don't have to tell any of my clients like, hey, I can't make it today because I'm having a car issue. I can just call an Uber home from the mechanic and then hop into my other car and then off to work I go, and
Yeah.
I can still pick up my son and all that. The only downfall is my personal vehicle. That's the tough one. So if the personal vehicle is in the shop, I can't pick my son up in the van. So I'll have to borrow like a neighbor's car just to go get him from school. But luckily my mechanic is at the end of my street. So I can just walk to the mechanic. It's awesome. It really is. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And like, with that being said too, I mean, on like holidays or days that my son's out of school, like school vacation, he can come to work with me. I just take him in my personal vehicle and he comes and walks dogs with me and he absolutely loves it. He doesn't hold any of the dogs. I don't let him, but he'll walk alongside us and all of the dogs and my clients absolutely love him. They get him Christmas gifts and he's really become like a part of Annie's Wolf Pack. Everyone knows like Jess and Jackie. Jackie's my son's name. So everyone's always asking, how's he doing? I haven't seen him in a while. And I'm like, just wait, February vacation's coming up. You'll see him then.
Well, that sounds like that's part of, again, this life that you were able to build and how you're able to mold out of, like, what works best and how you run a business. And like we sit at that interface of personal and business as solo business owners and operators. Like, that's just where we are. Like, and we can't, I know a lot of times we try and separate and we try and build walls. We're like, no, business is over here and no, personal. But like, no, that doesn't work. Like, it's all together. And when we can really, I know we've had to really embrace that aspect of what we do.
Yeah, of course. And It's funny that you mentioned that too, because I was big on separating like personal from business for years. But what we do is extremely intimate. We're walking into clients' homes. I can see their cold cup of coffee that they rushed out of the house and forgot on the countertop. Like we're very in their personal lives. And it's nice to be able to show them a little bit of my personal life as well. Um, Even though I'm just the dog walker, all of my clients see me as family. They've they've seen me struggle, they've seen me at my highs, my lows. They've moved away and they still reach out and they're like, I hope you and Jack are doing great. And it's one of those things where it's really hard to separate within this industry, especially since what we do is just it's very personal. I mean, we care for their pets, we love their pets, and in return, they love us
Right.
for loving their pets.
Have you heard of Time to Pet? Susan the Pet Gal has this to say.
Time to Pet has helped us grow exponentially. We believe the platform's features make us by far more professional than other companies who use conventional dashboards. They are the software gurus constantly developing and improving the platform based on user feedback. This decision was a good one.
If you're looking for new pet sitting software, give Time to Pet a try. Listeners of our show will save 50% off your first 3 months by visiting timetopet.com/confessional. Yeah, they really we do become that extension, and we get to be there when they can't. We get to take them on the walks when they can't. We get to help out when they can't. It really is in a very real sense. We are being selected by the owner to basically represent them to their pet when they're not able to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And when we kind of view
Exactly.
that position that we have in that relationship, it does change how I show up and what I write in my update and how I hold that leash and how like the severity, like the seriousness of that situation really kind of just like bubbles straight to the top and goes, I'm in lieu of owner. How would the owner hold this leash right now? How would the owner care about
Exactly.
How would the owner care about this behavior? How would the owner care about that's more of the mindset that we need to be in.
Exactly. And I try and follow along with what the owners do for their dogs as well. And at the meet and greets too, I'll ask them like, what kind of training protocols do you have? And a lot of people have different commands for their dogs. I had a client, I always ask clients, write your commands, just so I can keep it as close to the owner's commands as possible, because everybody says different things. Like the touch command, I say boop with my dog. I go boop and he does it. But if I said touch, he'd be like, what's touch?
What are you doing?
So, and it's funny too, because one of my first clients, I told that, I was like, oh, just write down your commands just so I can kind of follow along and be as close to what you do so they can understand me and be comfortable with me. And at the very bottom, it said elephant. And I was like, what? What is elephant? So I just looked at Teddy and I go, elephant. And he ran and got his favorite stuffy that was an elephant. And I didn't even know. And I thought that was the cutest thing ever. And I immediately fell in love with him. It was like the first visit. And I was like, I love you. That was so cute. But I was like, elephant. It was all normal stuff. Sit, stay, down, paw, off, and then elephant. And I was like, wow. And that was right at the beginning too. So I didn't even really know what I was getting myself into at the time. And it was a fun thing to run into. And now if I see something like that, I think of Teddy, and Teddy unfortunately is long past, but he holds a special place in my heart.
Oh.
He was a good boy, and I'll never forget elephant.
Oh my, it's again just that personal stuff. Like who else would know that command for that dog? Who else has that information been shared with? It's only the dog walker, right? Only those close people. And we had a client who all of their commands for their dog were in French, and that was a new one.
Oh
for
yeah,
us,
I had a Spanish one.
Yeah. There was one time, we had 1 week where we had a dog whose all its commands were in French and another dog whose all commands were in Spanish. And it was like, it was like, oh my gosh, I don't trying to keep everything straight. And it was great. We all had a laugh about that. But again, it was just this reminder of this is that person's dog, and that they're choosing you. They're reaching out to you for a reason. I mean, how are your clients finding you, or how are you connecting with those people?
So I live in my hometown. I was born and raised here in West Bridgewater, Massachusetts. My son is actually fifth generation in my house. My great grandfather bought my house in 1931. And in 2019, my ex husband and I actually inherited it, which was not the plan at all. So we were actually dog walking in the next town over. And even though it was only about 15 minutes away, it really put a damper on our travel times. So we decided at the time, he was like, you know what, you have a connection with the residents in this town. You've been here for a long time. I mean, I only moved out for about like 15 years or so, but I mean, the next town over, I was still really close. But he was like, a lot of people know you in town and they trust you, and you're still very active and involved in a lot of things in town. Anyways, how about we expand our service area to West Bridgewater? And so we did do that when we had Tough Paws, but Tough Paws was only operating in West Bridgewater for a very short amount of time. During that time, like I said, we inherited it in 2019, and then COVID hit March of 2020. So when I started Annie's, I really wanted to tighten up that route because I was doing Easton Dog Walks, which is the town next door, pretty much. The town over, I was doing Easton Dog Walks and West Bridgewater, and I was finding that I was traveling between towns, and it took about like 18 minutes to go do a 15-minute potty break. So I kind of had to weigh my options and do like a cost analysis and say, like, is this worth it? West Bridgewater is a very small town too. It's like 5 miles any which way. It's not that big at all. So I specifically flyered to West Bridgewater. And at that point, I also do, at the time, I was doing a referral program. So for every hired referral, that client gets 2 free dog walks. So if you tell your neighbor about me, you'll get 2 free dog walks. And that really kicked it off. And it kept me within a very tight area as well. So I had like house to house to house to house. And the coolest part about it was all these people knew their neighbors, and their dogs all knew each other. So the dogs already had a relationship. So I would consolidate those dogs, and I would say, well, Tucker likes this dog down the street. They've hung out before. I'm going to come over and I'm going to see how that goes. And then I would walk each dog separately for a few months just to get to know their personalities, see how their recall is. And then eventually I would group those 2. And then over time, I would bring in a 3rd and then a 4th. And my limit is 6. My insurance only covers 6, but I haven't done 6 in a long time. I like a nice 4. 4 is fun.
Yeah. Well, so.
But go ahead.
No, sorry, Jessica. I didn't mean. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it was the coolest part about it was this town is so small and everybody does know each other to the point where everybody's dogs already knew all the other dogs in the neighborhood. So it made my job extremely easy because when I'm introducing dogs to each other, it takes a long time. Like I said, I have to get to know each personality individually before I feel comfortable even introducing them together. And it was a beautiful thing, and it worked out nicely.
Yeah, when you have neighbor dogs who know each other through the fence and maybe interact on their own play dates and that kind of stuff, I can imagine that would make that grouping a lot nicer. And so you're doing mostly group walks these days and not necessarily doing the solos as much, or what's the mix there of your services?
So right now I'm doing a lot of solos. Okay. So I've noticed over the years, and this is kind of like a normal trend too. I'm sure a lot of dog walkers experience this as well. Summertime, we die out. There's really not a lot. I have a lot of teachers. People like to change their schedules in the summertime. They either go on vacation, board their dogs, or they go on vacation and I'm pet sitting their dogs. So daily dog walking in July is like almost out. Like it's I go down to maybe like from about 17 walks a day to like 4 in July. It's absolutely insane. But my pet sitting service is like through the roof in July. I'm hardly ever home. This past summer, I pet sat from mid-June to the very end of July, and I was only home for about like 4 or 5 nights throughout that.
Oof.
So it definitely makes up for it in the back end. But then once once September hits, I have a lot of clients who are either back in the office or back to teaching. So middays are a lot of potty breaks. So I try doing all of my group dogs in the mornings and in the late afternoons so I can keep that midday open for out of the house clients. And whenever I have a meet and greet and they say, "Oh, I work from home, it's just exercise," they automatically get grouped into the morning walk or the afternoon walk. Just because the midday is specially dedicated to either elderly dogs or people who are out of the house for the day.
Do clients get that kind of scheduling pretty easily, or do you ever get pushback on, no, I want my dog seen at noon. I definitely want this at noon kind of thing.
And then it comes sometimes you do have those every once in a while, but then it kind of comes down to the logistics of the situation, and I'll explain to them too why I operate that way. And majority of the time they're like, "Oh, I understand," because I'm like, if you're home, because I do have clients who work from home and they're stuck upstairs, so that's fine too if they're stuck upstairs and they can't get out, but they're going to get moved around a lot because they are home and they have breaks, and they give themselves potty breaks too,
Yeah.
So I tell them, I tell them just to kind of keep in touch with me throughout the day. Let me know, like, hey, the last time they were out was at 9 a.m. I have a meeting. I'm not coming out of this room until 3 p.m. Then I'll know where to kind of put them. And a lot of clients are very flexible too, so I can kind of move that around. There's a lot of schedule moving in like the middle of the day sometimes, but that's okay because that's all part of it as well. And if I didn't help out, then I'm no use to them,
Well, and I think having that kind of structure also helps direct the client to the solution. I think when Megan
Exactly.
when we first started, we were kind of anything goes, whatever the client wants, we'll just make and adapt and kind of make it work. And that sounds nice because you're sounding, oh, it's completely customizable. But when there's no structure, you just get things dictated to you, and then you don't have a flow, and you can't organize your life, and everything's just kind of tossed around. So just to be able to, it takes being opinionated about your business to say mornings and evenings are groups, middles, potty break, and I'm not budging on this. If that's
Exactly. Exactly.
It sounds constricting, but also clients are just looking to know, like, they expect you to have these kind of things in place. So we can confidently come to them and say, you want this is how I offer that. Welcome. Like we don't have to overcomplicate that presenting. Some may not like that, have pushback, and then you just explain it and kind of go about what's your the rest of your day. But I love that you have that separation and that structure to your days, because it helps you plan, schedule, route, that stuff, and it gives the clients an idea of what to expect, because they're looking to see, how do you operate, what do you do? And I think many times we think, oh, they're not going to like this. Well, they don't know. I get in my head about that. I'm like, oh, I don't want to tell them my cancellation policy because they're not going to like it. Oh no. And it's like, they just want to know. They're just asking me. Stop trying to hide it. Be honest and upfront, right? Like,
Yeah. And that's the beauty of networking too. Like I said earlier, I'm friends with a lot of other walkers in the area, and I'll tell the client, like, hey, listen, I have an awesome group of people that I network with as well. Let me put out the feelers and see if anybody has something that's a little bit more accommodating to the exact time frame that you would like. And that holds too. There's longevity in that. The client thinks of that and they're like, wow, I'm not paying them any money for this, but she's still willing to do a little bit of the footwork to try and find something that works best for my schedule. Because I mean, I care for pets, and a lot of people say too, like, oh, I got into the pet care industry because I hate humans. Well, you're dealing with the humans. That's the thing, is it's the dogs can't tell you they have to go out at noon. You know what I mean? Like, it's the client that is asking you about that. So I like to help out. I like to help out my community, and in the long run too, it works out, because they say, like, even though you didn't walk my dog, you were so helpful and you got me a dog walker that I absolutely love. And they might not have found that without my help and the help from others as well. And I think networking is extremely important in that sense, because like I said earlier, I can't walk all of the dogs. I don't have 24 hours of dog walking in one day. I still have to go home and eat dinner and feed my child at some point. So it's nice to be able to just reach out to somebody else and then get that figured out for the client. And then I always ask the walker, I'm like, do you love the dog? And they're like, I do. It's one of my favorites because, as you know, we do end up falling in love with our clients' dogs, and they become a part of our daily lives. And it's just one of those things where you want to know what happened. You want to know how it worked out.
You can't automate compassion, but you can make it easier to deliver. Pet Perennials is built just for that. Their sympathy and milestone gifts are designed for grieving pet owners, and they take care of the fulfillment from start to finish, so nothing falls through the cracks. For busy pet businesses, it's a simple system to scale kindness, nurture long-term client loyalty, and respond meaningfully in those difficult moments. Sign up for their free Gift Perks business account to receive discounted pricing with zero fees or minimums. Learn more at petperennials.com. Do you ever feel like you feel like you're selling your services to the people who contact you, or do the people contact you pretty much already know, like, I'm looking for this and you're already solving this for me kind of thing?
In the beginning, I did. I remember going to meet and greets being like, I hope I get this. I hope I get this. And then I leave and I'm like, did I stutter? Did I talk too much? Did I have word vomit? Like, they're not going to hire me. And it was definitely a lot of confidence building over time, especially with meet and greets too in the beginning. But nowadays, not so much because of word of mouth, because the town's so small. And I do a lot of events in town. We have an event called Riverwalk that happens every June. They shut down an entire street and there's a bunch of local vendors. And I have a booth and I'm just giving away dog treats. I'm not selling anything. I'm giving away dog treats and just talking to people. And a lot of my clients end up coming and they bring their dogs and it's a ton of fun. So word spreads fast around here. And I'll have clients who reach out to me and they already know, like, I want the morning group, I want the afternoon group, I want midday, just because they talk to another neighbor of theirs who I've worked with possibly in the past. So I don't want to sound like conceited, but I don't have to sell myself so much anymore just because the town is so small and everything's pretty cut and dry. Yeah. with what I offer.
Well, and when you have what helps with that too, and I love how you mentioned that sometimes the potential clients, the new clients, already know a lot about you through the person they were talking to, and that comes from having clear, defined. You've got structure. It's easy to communicate. And I think
it's a well-oiled machine at this point.
Yeah, it's right. And many, I'm really good at overcomplicating things, and I'm making things as particular and fine-tuned and as possible. And what that does is not only confuses the person I'm talking to, but they are never going to be able to share that kind of complexity to other friends. They're not going to be able. Yes. So when you have that clarity, it makes it easier for people to talk about you and that word of mouth to expand. When it's like, this thing that it helps that entire process, like you said, like becomes that well-oiled machine where it's easy to talk about because it's easy to understand. And that often gets lost in the weeds about our business operations as we tend to overcomplicate things, and that just causes a whole mess all the way down.
Yeah, exactly. And I think switching from pen and paper to a software system has really kind of push that forward as well, because a lot of my policies and procedures are emailed to them as soon as they get the invite. They already know how it works. Before the meet and greet even happens, they fill out their pet profile. I already know what to expect when I'm walking in. They already know what to expect as far as how walks are going to continue after this. And we just go in, meet each other, and then we end up talking about a lot of personal things in each other's lives anyways, and we always end up trailing off, not talking about the dog. And then I'm like, let's get back on track here. But it really it's helped out a lot. And it's like you said, it's given clear instructions and clear definition as to why the policies are there. Yeah. and why what we are doing and what to expect next.
Yeah, I love that's something that Megan and I switched to pretty early on, was emailing all of the forms and stuff beforehand, because I was tired of being bogged down sitting in somebody's home answering all these particular questions when it's like,
Exactly.
we could have just got
pen
this.
and paper, you're checking off boxes.
Yeah, like this could have been an email back to me. Like you didn't need to waste my time sitting out here. Like now you're right. It's like
Exactly.
you got policies, you asked all your questions beforehand. And it's just kind of, it's one thing that like you said, like, you come in confident because of the clarity that you've given. And when everybody's on the same
exactly.
when everybody's on the same page, you're not selling, you're then building that relationship with people. And that starts right at step 0.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I love that you say that I'm not selling, I'm building. I never even looked at it that way because you're right. I'm not selling myself. I'm trying to build a relationship with this client and see what their needs are. Their needs obviously come before my needs is time, and I can't provide that time. I'll put them on hold and say like, hey, let me reach out to the client who has the time slot that you want because they might want to move too. Everybody's work schedule changes every day. There's a lot going on at the same time. Let me just put you on hold. I'll reach out to them and then I'll get back to you. And 9 times out of 10, the client that had the 11 a.m. slot that somebody else wants would be like, actually, I've been meaning to talk to you. My work schedule changed. I'm leaving a little later in the mornings. So can you come a little later in the afternoon? So then it ends up being kind of like a trickle effect in a way. And then I reach out to that client. And then before I know it, my whole entire schedule is just kind of shifted a little bit and it feels like a brand new day. I listened to your podcast the other day about being kind of like stuck in a rut. And you can feel that, especially if you have master repeating clients where it's the same time every day. The dog poops in the same spot every day. You give him the treat at the same time every day. And it kind of, I feel like Bill Murray in Groundhog's Day sometimes where I'm like, I have deja vu, but that's because I've been doing this every day for years. So it's nice to reach out to your clients, see what it is, see if their needs are still the same, even though they put you on master repeating 5 years ago, because it might change and it might give you the refresher that you need to have a brand new day.
I love that because you're right. Many times we're like, well, the client will reach out to me if there's an issue. The client will talk to me if they need a change. The client will come to me. And oftentimes they just don't because they're busy. It might be low priority. Maybe they don't want to be a bother. They don't want to.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of like this. When you review a bank statement and you're looking for those repeat charges, those monthly subscriptions, and you're like, do I really need that? Do I really need that? Do I really need that?
Yeah.
Just asking questions. Hey, not that we're trying to get them off of our schedule, but we're just saying, hey, you've been at 11 a.m. for the past year. Is that still working? We're
exactly
like that
exactly
kind of,
yes.
Again, it's just like it's not complicated. You're just asking, and you don't care either way. We're just having that conversation because, and that helps too because you don't know what other needs they may have, what other things that they've been thinking about changing to, and then you can step in and go, oh, well, you want to do this? Well, I can help you with this, or blah blah blah, or here's a recommendation, and then that's. Having those kind of touch points, I think is way healthier than checking in to see if there's a problem. Like that, I don't I don't like having those conversations where I go to my clients and I'm like, "Hey, do you have a problem? Why aren't you using us?" I love the conversations where I can have of going, "Can I serve you any better, or can I help you in any other way?"
Yes.
Like that's such a much bit more beneficial way for everybody to do and have those touch points that you have with them.
Little check-ins, yeah. And like with being in this industry full-time for 12 years, I did have I had a tough pause client follow me to Annie's. I had him for 11 years and unfortunately he passed away last spring, but towards the very end of his life he needed changes, and his mom didn't want to tell me because she was already having a hard time dealing with the fact that she knew she was going to lose him soon. She didn't want to be a burden on me, and I said to her, I said, Laura, this is why I'm here. Use me. He will have priority because he's elderly. He will get first in line over the younger dogs who can hold it for a few more minutes. And she had no idea that was even an option. And I don't think she ever would have changed and working out because I was noticing he was soiling himself. I was showing up and I was like, let's see if I can come a little earlier. Maybe we can kind of adjust this. And that's the thing is we're part of these dogs' lives throughout all their phases, their puppy phase, their middle age phase, their teenage phase, their elderly phase. And with that, there's a lot of changes within the dog's daily life. And we, as pet care providers, we recognize that. And sometimes, like I said, the client might be kind of sitting with a heavy heart, not even really wanting to accept that this is happening to their dog. Their dog's getting older and they have to make these changes. So I think, and she actually just wrote me the sweetest letter yesterday that made me cry in the driveway. And it was awesome. But she even said, like, she was like, I wasn't even sure if that was an option because you're busy and you have other clients and I don't want him to be a burden on you. And I was like, Laura, he is 100% never going to be a burden. I love him. I've been with you guys for 11 years now. Let's make this change. I'm going to talk to my other clients. And every single one of my clients was so cool with it. They were like, yeah, that's totally fine. And like I said, there was some days where I went in there and it was a total mess and I would have to spend extra time cleaning it up and cleaning him up and taking him out, and he got slower, which ended up pushing my entire schedule back. And all of my clients knew that I was like, sorry, I had Max today. And they were like, we could tell. That's totally fine, don't worry about it. And I'm like, I'm a little late today. And that's also why I operate in 2-hour time blocks, because if a client wants 11 a.m., I can get there anytime between 10 a.m. and noon. I'll shoot for the 11 as close to the 11 as possible, but give or take, I might be 15 early, 15 late. Traffic, the dog before you might not have pooped, didn't look like it had to poop, so I stayed a little extra with it because I'll do that for your dogs as well. That's the thing is every client knows that my tardiness is something that helped another client, and they'll get that someday too. If they ever get to that situation, if they have an elderly dog, they know I'm going to spend extra time and extra care on their dog as well, which is unfortunately, it pushes some of the other dogs to the side a little bit as far as the schedule goes, but everybody gets treated equally, and being late happens sometimes. I mean, sometimes I'm late just because of traffic. We had 3 major roads closed in September. School buses just hit the roads. Everybody's driving. My schedule is overloaded. And it got to a point where I was like, I just put my hands up and I was like, I don't know. Every turn I take, there's traffic because these 3 major roads are closed. I'm doing my best. And everyone was so cool with it. They're like, just don't even worry about it. Like, get here when you can get here. And then at 5 p.m., they're all texting me going, I'm stuck in the same traffic. This is wild. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I was stressed over it. And they're like, I don't blame you. Don't ever worry about being late. And I think as long as you're ethical, you're putting wellness first, and you're doing your best, nobody can fault you for that because things happen throughout the day, and every day you run into something.
Yeah, it is. And that open communication, right? And that, and just hearing you talk, thinking about what you said at the beginning of, you wanted to do more for your clients, more for your community, more for yourself. You wanted to do something that served people better. And you hear this of and everybody gets treated fairly. I'm going to give this client time because that's the kind of person I am. You hired a caring person. I still have you in mind. I'm not going to be 14 hours late. I'm going to communicate things ahead of time. And when your dog also has an accident, I'm going to give them the same love and attention. And
exactly,
I often think of, and that takes a special client, right? And I'm sure there are people who that doesn't work for, and they just kind of weed themselves out. But when you give that extra attention, it's like if you ever waited in line to order, at a restaurant or whatever, you go through a fast food restaurant, and the clerk at the front who's taking orders, a really good one, every person that person's talking to is the only person in the world. And they're making that person feel special. They're making that person feel amazing. Does it make the line a little bit longer? Yeah. But every time where I start to get frustrated, I'm like, oh, just take the order. They want it number 7. Stop asking them about the weather. When I get up there, I love that they asked me about the weather, and I'm happy
You're
that
like,
they asked me
"Hey."
about the day. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. You're like, yes, I am the only person in the world. Yes, talk to me.
Exactly.
You're making those people feel special, and that's that unique thing, that unique aspect that, when done properly, is I've heard it said before, right? There's only one best dog in the entire world, and every family has them. Right? It's like
exactly.
we have to have that mindset every day and every door we walk through. Otherwise, it doesn't work, and we lose that connection that we have with our clients.
Exactly. And I'm extremely fortunate with my client base. Everybody is so cool. I love all of my clients. Like, anytime I raise rates, I'm always getting feedback like, you deserve it, of course. And I follow a lot of different dog walking and pet sitting groups on Facebook. And I see people have these worries like, oh, I'm going to raise rates soon. Like, a lot of my clients are going to be upset. And I don't know what that's like. I have no idea what it's like to have a client be upset at that. They're always like, you deserve it, which is, it's very few and far between when I do raise rates.
Yeah.
And they're all for good reason. But I couldn't be more grateful for the client base that I do have at the time. Cause like I said, I try my hardest not to mix business with personal, but it's almost impossible especially with a town so small, a community that I have, and just the client base that I have. Like I said, I don't have much family, but I have the biggest family, and that's Annie's Wolf Pack. It's all of my clients.
Oh, Jessica, I love that. And I'm so thankful for you coming on the show today and talking about your journey and your dedication to your clients, and how you're making them feel special, and you're giving them the best care possible. For those who want to follow along with you, see all the cool photos and stuff that you post, and get connected, pick your brain, how best can they do that?
They can follow my Instagram, Annie's Woof Pack, or they can follow my Facebook, Annie's Woof Pack, ANNIES WOOFPACK, or they can go on my website, annieswoofpack.com.
Awesome. Well, I will have all those links in the show notes and on our website so people can get connected. Jessica, this has just been an absolute pleasure, and I thank you so much for your time today and for coming on the show.
Awesome, Colin. Thank you for having me.
Building a community-based business doesn't just mean that people in your community know who you are and know when to or not use you. It also means that you have a network of others that surround us. And Jessica's reminder that we can't walk all the dogs, we only have two hands, networking is extremely important. When we stop seeing each other as competition, we actually start building the community that our clients and their pets truly deserve. Annie's Wolf Pack is a trusted neighborhood brand that was intentionally done by Jessica. She works to make sure that there is a good reputation for her business. We should as well. We should look to have the support of other professionals, other providers in our area, because that's the only way that change in the community actually takes place, is when we play our role and when we are intentional about that. We want to thank today's sponsors, Time to Pet and Pet Perennials, for making this show possible. And we really want to thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be back again soon.